Hello everybody. In this video I will explain how you can do yourself a stencil for mimeographs. Of course can be useful if you have a mimeograph and you're curious about it works, but you don't have the wax paper to run it. But you can use it also for fun or art reasons. And we will see that you can print copies with a stencil also if you don't have a mimeograph. There are mimeograph machines of every type and shape. It can have a classical shape like this Gestetner from 1920, or can be flat like this Limograph from 1920. It can also use chemicals like this Papyrograph from 1874, but all these has a thing in common. They rely on a stencil of waxed paper to work. The waxed paper is a sheet of paper covered with a thin film of wax or another waterproof material. Then, using a stylus or a typewriter, you remove the impermeable cover of the paper, allowing the ink to pose on the blank sheet of paper under it. But nowadays it's very hard to find the waxed paper for mimeographs. If you find it, could be it has to be shipped from very far and it's costly. In this video I will show how to prepare a stencil for mimeograph using common materials in a fast and easy way. There are of course many other ways to do it. You can also experiment and vary the procedure. After preparing it you could use it to print your copies. Later I will print some copies with the stencil I am going to prepare. Let's start. This is all is needed. Transparent paper 20 gram for square meter, carnauba wax, solid paraffin, Vaseline oil, a source of heating, a scale, a metal plate, a paintbrush and a tin container, some gloves. The sheet of paper you use should be thin enough but also resistant. After you apply the paraffin film on the paper, you have to write on it with a stylus. And the paper should be strong enough to permit you to remove the coating without tearing the paper. But it has to be thin enough to permit the ink to go through the paper in the place you removed the wax. Japanese are mastering this. There are kozo paper, mulberry paper, yoshino paper and others. But these are not easy to find and are expensive. I think that transparent paper at around 20 grams per square meter can do the work. So here the procedure I use to prepare the stencil. The formula I use is 3 parts of paraffin, 3 parts of Vaseline oil, 1 part of carnauba wax. It's here that I use the scale. The Vaseline oil is used to blend with the paraffin when it melts, but it's okay also to use another oil where the paraffin can blend. The carnauba wax is only to give a shiny look to the paper. Carnauba wax is used also in automobile waxes, show polishes, dental floss, food product such as wheats. The paraffin is the most important ingredient because it will create the film on the sheet of paper. So the sheet of paper will be impermeable to the ink, except on the parts where you remove the ink with the stylus. Then is needed a source of heat. I'd like very much to use the fireplace, and of course it's possible, but it's better to use a constant heat source. I will use this electrical heater. The mixture should not boil, but only heated till it melts. Then I place this metal plate on the heater, keeping it at the minimum. I place on it the transparent paper. I do this because when I place the paraffin on the paper, I don't want it to solidify too quickly and didn't spread evenly. The paraffin must have some time to spread on the paper. Also now it's winter. The plate is very cold. Outside there is the snow, you see. I use a paintbrush, but you can also use a roller. It's not necessary to place too much paraffin on the paper, otherwise it will be difficult to use the stylus to draw the lines. Here the first stencil. I place it here to dry for some hours. You can also experiment. You could place the paraffin on the heated plate and then place the paper on it. Of course, after you prepared the mixture, it's better you use it for preparing many stencils. Or you can keep the mixture and eat it again when needed. Let's try to do a stencil for mimeograph. I use a stylus on a metal plate called file plate or writing plate. It's a finely knurled metal plate. So when I write on the stencil, the knurling makes some micro perforations on the stencil in the back. But you can do also without it and write directly on the stencil. Or you can use a sewing machine. There is the link at the video in the description. Probably you do not have a stylus. You can use also a pen or another tool with a pointed tip, but not too sharp. You see that the paraffin covering has been removed by the stylus. Now in these places the paper is permeable to the ink. Now we can start to do some copies with the stencil. I will use this flat mimeograph, the Edison 4. It's from around 1920. If you want more information on how to use this Edison 4 and all the mimeographs of this family, I leave the link in the comments. I place a blank sheet of paper under the frame and the stencil on top of it. I close the frame. I take the ink, it's there. And I pass the roller on the frame. Here the first copy. First copies are not perfect. The frame must be well inked. Another copy. If you don't have a mimeograph, anyway you can still do copies. You can take a very fine mesh net and build a frame around it. Then you take a cloth and pour some ink into it and pass the cloth on the stencil. The result will be the same. It's more easy than you think. It's creative and fun. You can experiment also with different colors. You can become an artist also if you don't have a mimeograph. That's all. Have a nice day.